April 2018 at Tibet House, U.S. in New York City, and is brought to you in part through the generous support of the Tibet House, U.S. membership community.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for coming this evening. And thank you, Your Holiness. We're very honored to have you here. I think I'm gonna pass over the mic to my colleague, Mr. Tom Yarnell, who has an extensive relationship with His Holiness's counterpart from his days in Seattle, who I think may better contextualize.
Welcome, Your Holiness, Sakya Trichen, to Tibet House. It's really a wonderful honor to have you here. On behalf of Robert Thurman, who, as you know, was unable to be here tonight, he's traveling, I would like to welcome you on behalf of the full Tibet House staff. And it really is an amazing honor to have someone of the stature of His Holiness Sakya Trichen here to speak to us tonight about the Sakya history. Just very briefly myself, I've had the good fortune to study and now teach with Bob Thurman for the last 40 years, and then during those same 40 years I've had the great honor of studying and practicing with the lamas of the Sakya lineage, Dr. Rinpoche, who's the head of the Punsok Podong in Seattle, and His Holiness Sakya Trichen, head of the Domo Podong and head of the Sakya order. So I have a very strong personal connection to the Sakya order and to His Holiness, and would definitely vouch for the prophecy that Atisha made, which I'm sure we'll hear more about tonight, the great Atisha from India when he came to Tibet to essentially bring a second wave and really establish Buddhism in Tibet. As he was coming over the Himalayas, he saw in 1040 to 42, in that time period, he saw a large area of gray earth, got down off his horse and did 3 prostrations to this empty spot. And many of his attendants were wondering, why are you prostrating to this empty space of gray earth? And he said he had a vision. He could see that in the future there would be many incarnations of the Bodhisattva of wisdom, Manjushri, the Bodhisattva of compassion, Chenrezi, and of spiritual power, Vajrapani. That in the future there would be many Bodhisattvas who would be born in and teach in this location. And this area of gray earth, which is Sakya in Tibetan, indeed very quickly became one of the major centers for the study and practice and promulgation of Buddhism in Tibet. So for about 1,000 years now, we've had the Sakya order in addition to the Kagyu, the Nyingma, and the Gelugpa order. And most of the lamas in the Sakya tradition are now known to this day to be following in that lineage, to be sort of considered emanations of Manjushri, in particular, the Bodhisattva wisdom and Avalokiteshvara compassion. And again, from my own personal perspective, I would vouch for that. Certainly the lamas I've studied with, Your Holiness, Dr. Rinpoche, Dej Rinpoche, and others are certainly real embodiments of Tibetan Buddhism and of the spirit of bodhicitta. So without any more words, thank you so much, Holiness.
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to welcome you all and extend my very warm greetings. And in Tibetan we say Teshi Dele, which means very auspicious opening. And also I would like to thank you very much for the Tibet House for inviting me here and creating the opportunity to meet you all and to share some time with you. Now the world we live now, it is very vast and has many different culture, religions, ideas, and traditions and so on. But one thing is that everyone is longing to accomplish happiness, and everyone wishes to eliminate the suffering. So for the sake of that, every individual, every organization, every country is making efforts. And we made so much effort. And during the last century, that in order to find the happiness, we made so much progress is made in terms of technology, the science, and so on. So with many of the problems that which we used to have been able to solve through this progress. For instance, like many of the diseases that long time ago could not be cured, now it can be cured easily. Many of the places where we could not get, now you can go any part of the world within hours, and so on. But at the same time, that we could not find the real happiness, no matter how much material progress that you make, that you cannot find the happiness, real happiness. And so the spiritual progress, spiritual practice and spiritual progress is very important. But the progress that you make through the spiritual is not something happens quickly, it takes time. And it is not something that is visible right straight away. Whereas the science and technology, the progress that we make is very fast and that we can see very clearly. And so therefore, at one time, in many parts of the world, they thought the spiritual progress is kind of old-fashioned, something that is old-fashioned. And the technology and the scientific ways is very fast. So this is the real thing. So everyone should go to this. And so many people have lost their interest in the spiritual. And in fact, in certain countries, they deliberately encourage not to practice any spiritual practices and so on. But as time goes on, that it becomes clearly, no matter how much progress, material progress that we make, we could not achieve the real happiness. No matter where you go, to whom will you associate, what you have, how wealthy you are, and how famous you become, how powerful you become, you could not find the real happiness. So the real happiness that you have to find from where? Through the spiritual assistance. And so even in the countries that were deliberately encouraged not to practice any spiritual practice, nowadays so many people are interested in the spiritual practice. And spiritual practices shows very clearly, without the spiritual help or assistance, that we could not find the real happiness. And there are many spiritual traditions, different traditions, and I myself believe that every spiritual tradition has its own beauty and its own way to help the mankind. So I respect every spiritual tradition. Every spiritual tradition is necessary because we are different, and all people have different tastes, different ideas, different mentality, different propensities and so on. So therefore, one kind of spiritual tradition is not enough. Just as like we need many, there's not one medicine that can cure all the disease. You need different medicines to cure the different diseases. And not only that, the different protocols or the different traditions to cure the different disease. Similarly, spiritual also, the variety of spiritual practice is very important. And so for certain people, that Hinduism is more suitable. For certain people, Christianity is more suitable. For certain people, Islam is more suitable. For certain people, Buddhism is more suitable. So therefore, we must respect every spiritual tradition and then choose yourself by using your own wisdom and your own intuition that to choose your own practice. Then whatever your spiritual path you practice, that you must diligently practice according to the teachings. So that is, I think, the most important thing that currently going in this world. And so, the reason, according to the Buddhism, the reason why we need to practice Dharma is because every living being, every sentient being, the true nature of the mind is pure. The true nature of the mind is never stained with the obscurations. And it's what we call the Buddha nature. It's the natural purity. It's never stained with the obscurations. But at the moment we could not recognize this. We could not identify or recognize this. And instead of seeing the true nature of the mind, it is completely covered with the obscurations. And as long as we have the obscurations, such as like the obscuration of the defilement and the obscuration of the phenomena, as long as we have covered with these obscurations, one is in samsara, which means the circle of existence. And there, then as long as we are here, we are not free from suffering. So that's why how much effort you make, how much material progress we make, where you go, to whom you associate, that you cannot find the real peace or real happiness. So the reason is because your true nature of the mind is completely covered with the obscurations. And so therefore it is like this, and so one needs to practice the spiritual practice. Dharma practice is very important. And although every sentient being, every living being has the Buddha nature, every living being has the opportunity to become a fully enlightened Buddha. But the human beings have the best chance, because human mind is very sharp and is very intelligent than any other living beings, such as like animals. So therefore the human beings have the best chance. And so therefore spiritual practice is very important. Spiritual practice that I myself as a Buddhist, that we are, from the Buddhist point of view, the Buddhism, as you know, started from India, and then it went to many countries, but it is through the kindness of the Tibetan Dharma kings, through the great blessings of the Indian masters, and through the hardships of the Tibetan translators, that Buddhism was fully brought to Tibet, where we have Mahayana, the Theravada, and Vajrayana, as well as all the related signs. So it is in Tibet where we have full Buddhism, and also with full practice, not only studying but also practice. So it becomes that although the original place of Buddhism is from India, but Tibet is also become almost like India, and even today that we've been able to manage to keep this. And so when the Buddhism came to Tibet, it came in through two different periods of times. The first one is when during the Guru Bama Sambhava and the great abbot Shantarakshita and the Tibetan king, the Dharma king Trisong Dezen, at that time the Buddhism was fully established. And when the great abbot Shantarakshita came, and when he came, and when he tried to build the temples and establish the monasteries, and Tibet has a lot of local deities that were very powerful, and they made huge disturbances. So the temples were like, during the daytime, the people built up, but at the nighttime they were all dismantled. So in this way they could not do it. And also there were hailstorms and lightning and all kinds of problems occurs. And then the great Shantarakshita advised, now we couldn't do this. Tibetan local deities are so powerful. And so only way to overcome this is to invite the Guru Pema Sambhava, who has such a power to subdue all of this. And so they send the messengers to India. And the Guru Pema Sambhava also knows this, and he himself also came through his wisdom. He came, and they met messengers on the road. And then he eventually came to Tibet, and he destroyed all the evil ones, and all the right ones, that he converted them into Buddhism, and took the pledge to protect the Dharma and become a Dharma Protectors. And then they've been able to build the temples and establish the monastery institutions. And at that time, then the great Abbot Shantarakshita, when he came, and he said, Tibetans have never received the Buddhist monk's ordination. So they don't know whether the Tibetans will be able to keep all the Buddhist monks' vows and rules or not. So they have chosen 7 persons as a trial, 3 older persons and 3 younger persons and 1 middle-aged person. All of them together, 7 persons were chosen, and then they were giving the full bhikshu, the full-fledged Buddhist monks' ordination. And among them, among the 3 younger persons, the one is the Kern family. The Kerns are originally believed to be the direct descendants of the celestial beings. There's a celestial being called Rupatatu, and from there, Rupatatu, they came down in the high mountains of Tibet and settled, and then settled down in Tibet. The rest of them went back to the heavenly realms, but one of them settled in Tibet, and then through his lineage, his hereditary lineage established. And at that time, there were no Buddhism. There were only Bon religion. So they were Bombos. But then later, when Guru Pema Sambhava came, and then Chandarakshita came, and at that time the Buddhism was established and they become a Buddhist. So one of them is a current family member called Nagendra Rakshita, was one of them. And so then the Buddhism was well established, and translated all the words of the Buddha and their commentaries. And he was also one of the translators. And then he and his younger brother called Deity Generation, they both received enormous. His younger brother is not a monk, like householder, and they both received many important empowerments and the teachings from Guru Pema Sambhava, and then since then been carried out, and they practiced and they got very high realizations. And at that time the main deity are the two Vajrakilaya and Yangda Hiruka. So through these two deities they got very high realizations, and for many generations they were like this. And then after about 13 generations time, there was two brothers, Karo Sherab Surim and Karo Kunjo Gyalpo. And the Karo Kunjo Sherab Surim's time, at one time there was a big gathering of the people, and where they're dancing and all kind of games and all kind of things. His younger brother went there to see, and then when he came back, his elder brother asked, "What is in the gathering there?" And he said, "There are many people, many dancing, and also sports, all kinds of sports. But the most impressive one was the sacred dances they played. Sacred dances they did was the most impressive." And then he said, "It is not right, because the sacred dances are very holy, and they should not be played in the publics. They should only be played in secluded places for limited people. But so to show such a thing is not right. So now, from now on, whatever I'm old, I will not be able to learn, and you are new, you are young, so you can learn, and whatever teachings we have, we should conceal it. From the old teachings, we should conceal it, and now it is the time to establish a separate school." And and at that time, the most famous Lama was the Drogmi Sakya Ishi. Drogmi Sakya Ishi is very famous, so he said to the Drogmi Sakya Ishi, but Drogmi is very strict. He does not give teachings more than one person at a time. He gives only one person at a time. And so in the beginning he had difficulties, but later he managed to, when Drogmi gave the blessings on the head of the Kunjo Gyalpo, he said that the touch of your hair, touching your hair, feels that your lineage has a special kind of qualities that will benefit the teachings, spread the teachings. And so then he gave the teachings and so on. So then with that, Kunjo Gyalpo's time established the Sakya order, first the Sakya order. And the first monastery was built in 1073. So it's now more than 900 years ago. And So the Sakya bus, you see in Tibet we have today 4 major schools. Nyingma bus, which is the original translation, the ancient translation, and new translation is Sakya bus, the Kaigyu bus, and the Gilu bus. These are the 4 major schools. So the Sakya bus. So now what is the Sakya bus? So what is the meaning of the Sakya? Sakya means actually a gray earth. And the Sakya, the town is also called Sakya, and the school is also called Sakya. And it has a mountain that is in the shape of elephants. And in the center of this has a gray earth, circle of gray earth. And this has, we say that it has kind of 3 specialties. The first specialty is long before it was established, long before the first Guru Pema Sambhava came. And Guru Pema Sambhava said, in the future, there will be a big monastery be established here, and that will spread the Dharma in every direction, and also benefit immense sentient beings. And he erected 4 stupas in each direction, 1 stupa in each direction, together 4 stupas, and blessed the earth. So the monastery's earth was blessed by the Guru Pema Sambhava. And so that is the number 1 specialty. Second is just now, during the introduction, he mentioned that the Palden Adisha, who came and who did prostrations in this very empty countryside where there's nothing, but he did prostrations. So his attendants inquire why we do prostrations and making offerings here. There's nothing, and then he said, don't you see on this gray earth there are 7 syllables of letter 7 syllable or di, and 1 syllable of shi, and 1 syllable of hum. That means there will be 7 emanations of Manjushri, the Buddha of wisdom, and 1 emanation of Avalokiteshvara, the Buddha of compassion, and 1 emanation of Vajrapani, who is the Buddha of power. And also in the future, there will be many emanations of these 3 bodhisattvas, and will benefit immensely to all sentient beings. And so that's why that I'm doing the prostrations. And so that is the second specialty. And then the third specialty is the Kunju Gyabo, who is the founder of the school. He had a son. When he was young, very young, he was trained as a lama and received many teachings. And then his tutor advised him, said that you are a son of a great lama, so you need to study. And in order to study, you need wisdom. To acquire wisdom, you practice Manjushri. And so he practiced Manjushri, received the initiations and related teachings, and then practiced the Manjushri in retreat. And so one day, in his pure vision, he saw many rainbows and flowers, and then in the midst of this, Manjushri, who is sitting on the throne, sitting on the chair with the 2 legs down, and then 1 bodhisattva on each side. So together, three of them he saw in his pure vision. And he said that the main Manjushri said that if you have attachment to this life, one is not a religious person. If you have attachment to the realm of existence, you do not have the proper renunciation. If you have attachment to the self-purpose, you do not have the bodhicitta or the enlightenment mind. And if grasping arises, you do not have the view. So in these just 4 lines, actually contains the entire Mahayana teachings. Entire Mahayana teachings. So he got a great realization of this, and then he taught to his sons, and then it continued right up until now as a preliminary teaching of the mind training. And not only in the Sakya schools, but in even the other schools also consider this as a very authentic and pure mind training teachings. And then he received the Lamde teachings from his guru, and Lamde means Lam means path, and the De means result. That is actually a short way of saying, but actually it means the base, path, and result all together. They are not separate. If the path, if the base and result are separate, then it is not proper to accomplish. If they have to be all together, they have to have the links. And so he received this from his guru for many years. And after receiving the teachings fully, then the guru advised him that for 18 years you should not give this teaching to anybody, not even mention the name of this teaching. And then after 18 years, either you teach to the other people or you write down. Because before that, this Lamde has no written teachings. It is all oral teachings. You write down or you teach, or whatever you do, you are the owner of this teaching. And so, so for 18 years he's been practicing, but then at one time he got ill and he had to take very strong medicines. And due to these medicines that he forgotten many of his teachings. And then he was very sad and felt very kind of desperate because now his guru is no longer remaining, his teacher is no longer remaining, and there were no other Dharma brothers or sisters to whom he can discuss. And even if I go to India, it is very difficult to go to India, and moreover, teachings were kept so secretly that it may not be able to find. So what to do? And so he prayed to his guru, and then his guru appeared in his dream and gave the teachings, and got a lot of teachings being able to revive. Then again he prayed and prayed and prayed, and then his guru appeared in person and gave the teachings, and most of the teachings that he could revive. Again he prayed, and then one day the Mahasiddha Biruba is actually from Nalanda. He was the abbot of Nalanda and later become a Mahasiddha, and he is the original guru of Lamde. Lamde has 5 Indian gurus. He was the first one, then 5 Indian gurus, then the Tibetan translator. And the himself appeared on the whole, covered all mountain and earth, grey earth he was leaning towards the grey earth, and the whole valley was covered with his body, and said, "This earth belongs to me." So that was the third specialty. So the first specialty is Guru Pema Sambhava blessed. Second specialty is that Apagna Adisha gave the prophecy. And the third specialty is that Mahasiddha Virupa himself appeared and blessed the area and said, this earth belongs to me. So the Sakya has kind of three specialties. So now what is the Sakya path? Sakya path means actually the one who holds the lineage of the four great translators. Because the teachings have to come from India, because the Buddhism was in India, and that has to come through the translators. So the teachings that came through the translators considered as very authentic and very pure. And so that there are four great translators. The first one is called Pari Lozawa. Lozawa means translators. Pari is his, I think, his kind of race. And his personal name is Rinchen Thakpa, who went from Tibet through Nepal to India and stayed many years studying under the guidance of the great Indian masters. And he received many teachings, and he made all collected together. There is one book called Collected Sadhana, Collection of Sadhana. And that, as well as many other teachings that he brought. And Lama Sakya Bakunga Nyingpo was one of the teachers. His teacher is the Pari Lozawa. And then the second translator is Dongmi Lozawa. That, as I just mentioned, that Kuncho Gyabo consulted him, and he was very difficult to give teachings. He does not give teachings not more than one at a time. And so Dogmi Lotha, his personal name is called Sakya Yishe. And he is the first Tibetan Lama to receive the Lamde teachings. And he gave to Sajjongwa Nyingpo's father many teachings, especially the Hebajra Tantra. And he did not give the Lamde teachings. He said, introduce to another disciple, because he does not give the two different types of teachings. Lamde belongs to what is known as a Pitha instruction. So he does not give Pitha instruction to those who he gives tantras. When he gives tantras, he does not give Pitha instruction. When he gives the Pitha instructions, he does not give the tantras. So he introduced his best disciple who received the Pitha instructions. So from him he received. And then Lama Sakya Bachambo Kunga Nyingpo received the teachings from his disciple. And so in this way, the Lamde is the main teaching of Sakya path. Most important, Lamde means actually it is the path and result, but it has everything. It has the Sutrayana part, preliminary part is the Sutrayana part, and the main part is the Vajrayana path. Vajrayana path is a complete teaching starting from the refuge up to enlightenment, how one person to attain the enlightenment. And so in this way, that it is a complete teaching. So that is the second Lotsawa, the second translator. And then the third one is the Mal Lotsawa. It's not the Marpa Lotsawa, it's the Mal Lotsawa. And his name is Lojo Chakwa. And he also received enormous amount of teaching, especially Chakra Sambara and Mahakala, etc. So enormous amount of teachings and gave to Lama Sakyapa. And then fourth one is Lotsawa Rinchen Sangpo, translator Rinchen Sangpo, who was the most important translator during this new translation periods of times. And through him also he got many teachings. So the Sakyapa teachings are all coming through these four translators. And then, so that the Sakya monastery was first time established in 1073 by Kön Kunjo Gyalpo. And then his son, Sajin Kunga Nyingpo, to whom, as I said, received directly teachings from Manjushri and also from Mahasiddha Biruba, the Lamde, as well as many other teachings together during the period of 1 full month. And then he had 4 sons. The first son was named Kungabar, and he went to India to study, and then he passed away in India. And his second son is Lobun Sonam Tsammo, who was a very great scholar, and his fame was even reached as far as the river Ganges. And he has written many books, Sutrayana as well as Mantrayana, and many rituals as well. And then the third son is Jidun Chakwa Kyansen. He was a very great master, and especially the Lamde teaching. In terms of Lamde teaching, he is the most important, because Lamde is the pith instructions, and it has many hidden words and so forth. So it needs many explanations, detailed explanations, and he gave the detailed explanation. He is the real owner of all the secret teachings. And then fourth son is called the Sangsa Sonam Gyaltsen, and Pachen Yobo. Fourth son is called the Pachen Yobo, and the Pachen Yobo, as his son, is the Sakya Pandita, who is very well known. He is the first Tibetan to receive the full Pandita title. And he also wrote many treatises and many commentaries, especially on the Paramana, or the logic, the Buddhist logic. There are many books being translated from Indian texts from Sanskrit into Tibetan. Of course, every teaching has to translate from India to Tibetan, but Tibetan masters wrote book that have been translated back to India is only the Sakya Pandita's works. Sakya Pandita wrote the Paramana Yuktaniti, and he wrote in Tibetan, and it is so complete and so authentic and so great that been translated back from Tibetan into Sanskrit. And then his younger brother, Sakya Pandita's younger brother, is the Sangsa Sonam Gyaltsen, and the Sangsa Sonam Gyaltsen had two sons, two official sons, and one is Donggon Chögya Pakpa. And then his brother is the Donggon Changna. And then they were both, they became the royal priest of Sakya Pandita, as well as his nephew, Donggon Chögya Pakpa, both became the royal priest of the emperor, Mongol emperors. And the Donggon Chögya Pakpa especially went twice to at that time, the Mongols conquered China, and China is under the Mongols, so they were the Chinese emperors. So they invited to China, and first time the Vajrayana teachings were spread into China and Mongolia. And moreover, Donggon Chögya Pakpa is the one who composed the Mongolian script. The Mongolians don't have the script at that time, so he invented the Mongol scripts. And so in this way, so these are called 5 great masters: Sachin Kunga Nyingbo, Robin Sonam Tsemo, Jizun Chagwa Gyanze, Sakya Pandita, and Donggon Chögya Pakpa. And then Chögya Pakpa, he later became the ruler of Tibet, because the Mongols have offered the whole 3 provinces to the Donggon Chögya Pakpa as an offering. And so he became the first Lama king in Tibet. So in this way, that is, and then also Sakya had many, many great scholars. There were 9 great scholars. 3 great scholars who are very capable of explanation of Sutrayana part. They are Yakton Sangyapa. Yakton Sangyapa is actually considered as an emanation of Lord Maitreya, the coming Buddha. So he wrote a lot of commentaries on the Lord Maitreya's teachings. And then the second one is the Rongden Shisakunri. He is another very brilliant scholar, and he wrote many books. And it is said that whenever he gives the teachings, the smell of fragrance prevails, and the shower of flowers fall, and the rainbows appears. And the third one is the Randa Shunulodu. He's also very great his specialty is about the Madhyamika philosophy, the middle way philosophy, that he wrote special books on explaining the middle way school's views. So these are the 3 great scholars who explains about Sutrayana. And this is last one, this Randa Shunulodu is also the main teacher of the Lama Tsongkhapa, who is the founder of the Kiluk tradition. His main teacher is the Randa Shunulodu. Under him that he studied for many years. And then there are 3 great scholars, great teachers, especially on the Mantrayana side. And they are the Ngorchen Kunga Sangpo, Ngorchen Dorjichan Kunga Sangpo, who is the founder of the Ngorpa school, the sub-school. In Sakya has 3 sub-schools, and one of them is the Ngorchen Dorjichan, Ngorchen Kunga Sangpo, the Ngorpa school. He is a truly great master. The Buddha himself, in many sutras, mentions about his name very clearly, that at a certain time there will be a bhikshu called Kunga Sangpo, who will be able to spread the teachings of the Buddha. and he will be a great discipline, keeping the Vinaya rules, etc. And then one is the Tachan Losakya, who is the founder of the Tsarpa school, the sub-school of the Sakya order. Tsarpa school, he is also a great master. From a very young age, he has a special, great specialties, and that he gave enormous teachings and also wrote many commentaries, and had especially the most uncommon teachings, not only in Sakya order, but all the traditions, most uncommon teachings, that he is the owner of that. And so he is a very great master. And then the third one is the Dorji Demba Kungan Namgye. So he is another sub-school, it's called Dzongba. Another sub, he is the founder of that sub-school, and he is also a very great scholar. These three are specialty is on the Mandrayana school. Then there are three more great masters, and their very specialty is for both Sutrayana as well as Mantrayana. And one is the Koranjamba son of Sangye. He is from a very young age a very great scholar, and he wrote many books. And today, most of our philosophical schools in the colleges, that we use his texts. And he is excellent in very detailed explanation of Sutra teachings as well as Mantrayana teachings. And then another one is the Sakya Trichen. He is also very, very special, very great master. He wrote so many books and has very special, sharp mind that to explaining in great detail of the most authentic detail of the very profound teachings. And the third one is the Dakzang Lozawa. The Dakzang Lozawa is he's a great scholar, and not only great scholar, but also translator. He translated many important texts, and also wrote many important commentaries. So through these, then it came down to the Sakya up until now, with so many great teachings and great masters. And that not only that the Sakya is great by not saying by ourselves, but other schools, masters, who are very honest, who are very straightforward, they also praise. For example, like the fifth Dalai Lama. Fifth Dalai Lama wrote one poem which says that Tibet had many great scholars and practitioners, just like sun and moon. But the one who explains fully the sutra, mantra, as well as all the science, the related science, is those who were born in Kern lineage, such as the Sakya Pandita, is the only one that who explains full teachings. There are many great scholars who can explain part of the teaching. Some can explain Sutrayana, some can explain Mantrayana, some can explain other related science, but there's not one that who fully complete teachings, Sutrayana, Mantrayana, as well as the other sciences, all together explaining, is the only those who are born in Korean lineage, such as Lord Sakya Pandita have written this. And so in this way, the very brief explanation of the Sakya tradition. But I feel that all traditions that exist today, in terms of their first motivation of enlightenment mind, in the main practice, the combination of sutra and mantra together, final accomplishment of the ultimate enlightenment, there's no difference. All are exactly the same. The only difference is the lineage is different. Now the original guru from India, and then how it's been passed down through the different translators, and then how it's been translated through the teaching has been come down through the lineage, etc. And so that is the only difference. So due to this difference, there are certain emphasis. Some schools emphasize more on the practice, meditation. Some schools emphasize more on the studies, and some schools emphasize both, and so on. But otherwise, there is no difference. All are same. But all are same at the same time. For example, all the deities are same. There's not all the Buddhas, in terms of their wisdom and their compassion, their power, they're all same. There's no difference. But due to our own karmic connections, that certain deities you can accomplish quicker, certain deities that it takes longer, because of your own karmic connections. If you don't have the karmic connection, that deity, if you practice, then it will take long time to accomplish. The deity to whom you have the karmic connection, if you accomplish, then it will quickly accomplish. So it is all due to our own affinities or our own karmic connections that is different. So therefore, Buddha also manifested into many different forms. There you have many deities. Some deities are very peaceful, some deities are very wrathful, some deities are very passionate, like with the consort and so on. But some deities are very simple, with one face, two hands. Some deities are very elaborate, with many faces, with many hands, and so on. But they all are same. There is no difference. If it is just one, then there is just one Buddha is enough. But it's not, because of our own personalities and our own affinities and our own karmic connections that is need different things. And so therefore, that there are so many different deities. Similarly, the variety different schools are necessary, because the Sakyapas, Nyingmapas, Kargyupas, Gelugpas, they're for certain people, this school is more suitable. For certain people, this school is more suitable. For certain people, that school is more suitable. So it all depends on, but all are same. Because one may ask, if they are all same, why we require so many of them? But this is necessary because the approach is different. The way you approach, final accomplishment is the same, but the approach is different. So when you have the approaches, there are differences also arises. And sometimes there are debates also. But it is only since the ultimate truth is so subtle and so difficult to comprehend. So it have to explain in many ways, with many examples, many logical reasons, many ways. But final conclusion and final accomplishment all are same. All are Buddha's own activities. All are same. But due to our own affinities and so on, that it has different schools and different traditions. We have one. This is a book mentioned. The great master, who is quite recent, he wrote a book called The Mirror of Jewel. And this book is to explain the Sakyapa's views, Sakyapa school's view, the mirror of jewels. And in this, he clearly mentions that although Tibet had many different schools, major schools, minor schools, all different kinds of schools, but the major schools, the Nyingmapas, Kargyupas, Sakyapas, Gelupas, have different terms, the usage of different terms, different approaches, but the final conclusion and final accomplishment is all same. The reason, although there are debates also sometimes, because the ultimate truth is so difficult to comprehend, so difficult to understand, so it have to present in many ways, and one way is through the debate, so that one can comprehend, one can understand better. But he said that, but the final accomplishment is all same, because every school has the great masters who have not only a great scholar, but also a great, highly realized. If something is wrong, then they could not get high realization. Since every school produces a great realized masters, it shows that every school is authentic and every school is same. Final accomplishment is all same. And so, but as I said, that our karmic affinity, karmic connections, that makes the difference. And so therefore, that you should, but Buddha himself also said that you should become a Buddhist. The Buddhism is the best. He didn't say that. He said, Buddha is the only actually teacher who said that my teachings you should not take by faith, but by reasons. You have to use your own intelligence, and you use just as you test, just as you test on the gold. If you wanted to buy gold, you make sure that it is a genuine gold. So that you test, you burn and you cut and you scratch, and so to convince yourself that it's a genuine gold, then you buy. Similarly, he said, the Buddha said, that my teachings also, that you should test, you should analyze as you buy the gold. And so Buddha is the only one. I think there's no other traditions. The Lord said that you should test my teachings. Everyone said that I bless you, I give you, I save you, but not one says that you should test yours. So in Buddhism, your own wisdom, your own mind, your own intelligence is very important. So you should test yourself, you should examine yourself, you should test yourself. And then when you convince that it is a genuine teaching, then you you choose that, and then you do it accordingly. But at the same time, you respect all the schools and all the traditions, because everything will help. Everyone is helping to the mankind. In our Sakya teaching, the main one is the Lamde, and Lamde is the most important teaching, and it is taught through the four authenticities. That is authentic teacher, authentic sermon, the Buddha's words, and authentic commentaries, teachings, and authentic experience. So through that it is taught. And how is taught? These orders are different, how it is written in the book and how it is comes, how you practice, and also, but the main order comes that you receive teachings from your teacher, and then you study, contemplate, and meditate, and through meditation that you gain experience, special experience. So when you gain this special experience, you convinced that your teacher was authentic. Because if your teacher is not authentic, you could not have such experience, such wonderful experience. So you establish your teacher is authentic. And the teaching he gave is from also authentic, because it's the commentaries, the Mahasi, the Biruva, etc., the many ancient masters give the commentaries, authentic commentaries. So therefore, commentaries are authentic. So therefore, it convinced the commentaries are authentic, and that also based on the Buddha's words. So the Buddha's words also are authentic. So by gaining authentic experience by yourself, then you can establish your guru is authentic, the teaching is authentic, and Buddha's word was authentic. So in this way, that it establishes the four authenticities. And so whatever you choose, then you choose yourself, and then you practice. Once you start, then you should not jump here and there, but you have to continue until you accomplish your experience. And as you experience, then you gain more and more inspirations, more aspirations, more inspirations to do it more, because as you gain the experience. And so in this way that I try to present the brief history of Sakya and also the teachings. So with this now I conclude, and so if you have any questions, I will be happy to answer.
Back 1, 2, 3.
Thank you so much for coming here today. It's really an honor to see you again after 30-something years. I know you. I wanted to ask you about just something practical that again and again, no matter what meditation I do, I still need to work on this. When I'm in an ordinary situation in New York City with all of the large amounts of people here, I always could use some help in developing patience with myself, patience with other people. Right on the spot, right when I'm in these situations with people where I experience fear, confusion, sometimes hatred from people. And it's sometimes I'm not able to fully be compassionate in that situation in terms of my words or actions. So I just wanted your more advice about that. These kind of, it's kind of a very low level compared to what you're talking about, such advanced things. But I still come back to that here, living in New York. So I just wanted your advice about this.
Yes, of course, it's difficult in big cities like New York with so many people. Everything is difficult when in the beginning, but when you try once, then as used to it, everything becomes easier. And one way that with lots of people it is difficult, but another way is it is a chance. If there's no people, how can you practice patience? How can you practice compassion? And so therefore, if you have to, main thing for me is that we need to remember the consequences that you face if you indulge impatience and anger and jealousy and so on. And what benefit that you gain if you practice love and compassion and tolerance and etc. And so by remembering these benefits and the consequences again and again, that will definitely help to improve your meditation.
Thank you.
Hello, Holiness. Thank you. I'm thrilled to be able to ask a general question, particularly to you, about women in the Sakya tradition. I was actually the first personage I started reading about in Tibetan Buddhism was Yeshe Tsogyal, Padmasambhava's consort, because she was so adamant about practicing as a woman. It was fabulous, and that led me onto the wonder of being able to ask questions and question everything. And I was just wondering if you could address the role of women in the Sakya history. I've been very lucky to get teachings from your sister, for instance. Yeah. And if you could say anything about their role in their history.
I mean, actually, the Buddha himself had given the equal rights. The man and woman and the high and low, there's no difference. Everyone is human being. Everyone has the right to practice. For example, like the Buddha gave the bhikshu vows and bhikshuni vows. The full-fledged Buddhist monks and nuns ordinations. Similarly, Bodhisattva and Mantrayana is all different. There's no difference. But due to the circumstances and cultural and the country's traditions and so on, of course there's less female practitioners, more male practitioners. But in fact, in the Lamde teachings, as I said, the first Tibetan master to receive the full-fledged, full Lamde teaching was Drogmi Lodzawa. He had 7 most important disciples, and out of these, 4 of them are women. And they were, in the beginning, a very ordinary woman, not a nun. They are not nun. They are not even any religious thing. They were very, very ordinary people, but then when he sees through his wisdom that this person has the time to ripening to accomplish, then that they are fully realized yoginis. And then also that throughout the lineage there are many ones, and the one that is very recently one is my own grand auntie. Her name is called Pema Chenle. She was born in 1874 and passed away in 1947. And she is a very great master and got many high visions. And I vaguely remember her funeral. I don't remember her fully in real person, but I remember very vaguely, like a dream of her funeral. And she was very great, and everyone respect her as a great teacher. There are many other teachings also. Actually, we are trying to combine most of the important ones, their biographies together, so that people will be able to know them.
Thanks again, Your Holiness, for being here. I was just wondering if you had any advice for those of us that aspire to teach the Dharma. For those of us who aspire to teach the Dharma, if you have any advice for teachers.
Teachers, Buddha himself actually described many qualifications of the teachers, like Vinaya teachers, Sutrayana teachers, Mahayana teachers, etc. That Mantrayana teachers, just as like we have the different teachers, like kindergarten teachers, school teachers, college teachers, and so on. They are different, isn't it? The college teacher and the kindergarten teacher is different. So like that, likewise, that you have also in Dharma also, you have many different levels of teachings, and each of them have a different qualifications. But generally speaking, three qualifications is absolutely necessary, and that is wisdom. The teacher has to know what he's going to teach fully. And secondly, it has to be a good discipline, good moral conduct. And thirdly, that one have to have a compassion to accept the disciples.
Just a little bit. Thank you so much for blessing us today with your wisdom. So I have two questions. The first one is, so you said the distinction between the four schools of Tibetan Buddhism, one of them is based on whether there is more emphasis on practice or study. So in terms of Sakya school, what is it really based on? What's the emphasis more on practice or study?
Sakya school emphasizes both study and meditation, because first you have to study, because without studying you can't meditate, and the purpose of studying is to meditate. So therefore the second stage, the meditation, is so important. So we emphasize on both sides.
Cool. So my second question is more out of curiosity. From your experience, how confident do you feel that the consciousness survives the body?
Consciousness?
survives the body. Like there is consciousness that continues after you die. So from your experience.
No, I don't. But you see, because first you have the body and consciousness. And the body is something that you can see, you can measure, you can describe its size, colors, and so on, shape. But the mind, consciousness is not something that you can see, can't see with your eyes, you can't touch with your hands, you can't describe its size or the colors. So therefore, although this body will be disposed in one way or another, but the consciousness could not dispose, it could not cremate, or it could not be buried, and so it continues. So when we die, it remains within your body for a while, and if you are practitioner, then through the dissolution of the elements, everyone experiences a glimpse of the clear light. But the people who lacked the practice could not recognize and become unconscious. But the people who are practitioners and who have some idea about meditation, then at that time they've been able to recognize and remain in meditation. And then when the consciousness leaves from the body, then the body decays and the consciousness lives in any part of the world, any part of the universe, and then will be taking either birth or going up or anywhere.
During Rinpoche's lecture, if I'm not mistaken, I heard like Lamde was taught first by Lord Buddha and then kept as a secret for 18 years. The teacher has told to his disciples not to share with others for 18 years. So what is I'm just wondering what might be the reason behind that.
Because it is such a precious teaching, and that he'd have to ripen at the right time. The Buddha also, Lord Buddha himself also, after he attained the enlightenment, he did not give the teachings straight away. He said that I found the nectar-like teachings, but I will not disclose to anybody because nobody can comprehend. And so only then the Lord Brahma, who offered the golden wheel with the 1,000 spoke, and then he turned the wheel of Dharma. So similarly, Lamde is also such a precious that it have to be at the right time, and the right people to whom they can comprehend.
Hi, my name is Yaniel. This is my wife, Dvora. We married about 3 years. We know each other.
Yes, I remember you. I remember.
You guys know each other. Thanks for giving me opportunity to be in your company. I saw you last week also, last Friday in the other place on 35th Street. My question is, the thing is this, I'm a little bit confusion. I mean, Dvora do for me wonderful things. She take care of all my medical, psychological issue. She try to close corner on every issue, like everything, try to make close to perfect, kind of. You know? I'm a little bit more of a type of kind of space out, you know. I like to do my own things, stay late at night. I'm a musician, you know. I like to hear jazz till 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, or that's it. the thing is this, I mean, she's a wonderful person. I kind of, but I almost cannot move anywhere without her. I'm very supervised. You know, but okay, I just want to, what Your Honor think about, I mean, if you can, by looking at me and her, you can already know what's going on, or you have a few words to add, you know, advice, kind of general, to develop patience, whatever. Okay.
Actually, I remember you both very clearly. Still, and I'm happy to see you again here. It all depends on what we call interdependent origination. Everything is dependent on each other. We are born through the dependence, and we remain in dependence, and we also end in independence. Every life experience that we have are through the causes and conditions that have to be gathered together.
Thank you very much.
Your Holiness, thank you for coming. I had a question when you were talking about the importance of forming your own experience and connection to the Dharma through practice. I was wondering, maybe anecdotally, some solutions when you have doubt about your own practice or the Dharma, and how one might think of that when doubt is an obscuration.
Yes, the doubt is very major obstacle. So you have to, first when you meet the teachers, you should not go straight away. You have to examine. Olden times there's special text to examine from the Guru's side. You examine the disciples. The disciples' side also the Guru's examine the Guru's. And so after examining carefully, then you can start to establish the teachings. Once you establish the link and the Guru, authentic Guru can give you the teachings, then right from the beginning or straight away, of course, you cannot yield any result, because it is from the beginningless time until now that we are caught up in the samsara, and we have so many shortcomings, and we have many negative emotions and so on, that it is not easy. But if you try it, then it will certainly improve. And as you improve, then your doubts will also disappear.
Your Holiness, I have a question about deity generation. When you are generating a deity in yourself, and the deities are typically depicted in a very specific position that you're used to looking at, locked in a tanka, for example, do you play with that image at all and move around, or do you stay fixed in those positions?
The deities, the different positions have different meanings, but you don't physically have to position like that. It is all, mind is the most important. Mentally, you visualize yourself in the deities in this particular position.
Your Holiness, thank you. In the West, do we have a kind of different type of obstacle to understanding the Dharma, applying the Dharma, and being connected with the world and reality? Do you see particular Western obstacles different than Asian or other?
No, I don't think so, because after all, we all are human beings, same human beings, so our needs and our obstacles are also same. But one thing is, of course, Buddhism was very well established in the East, especially in Tibet and Himalaya regions and so on, so that everyone has a kind of natural, even though they don't have much knowledge about Dharma, but you have a strong belief about the cause and conditions, cause and result, and karmic connections, and so on. But the West, of course, Buddhism is fairly new and is not widely spread, so therefore you don't have this kind of base. But you have the more wisdom in the sense that you have everyone studied and more intelligence. So therefore, you need more logical reasons. Instead of faith is just faith, but more logical reasons. Through the logical reasons that you need to make convince about the practice.
Translators, Michelle, thank you for blessing us. My question is, do you get angry? And if you do, how do you deal with it?
What did you say?
Do you get angry?
Angry, of course. I'm a human being like everybody else. I don't claim that I'm anything super. But whenever I get angry, I try to remember the consequences that I face, because by indulging anger, one have to face a very strong, very severe consequences.
Okay, I think if there are no more questions. Well, Your Holiness, thank you so much. It's really been a real joy and inspiration to have you here. And I hope that we get to see you here frequently, soon and frequently.
Yes,
Thank you again so much.
Thank you.
To learn more about the benefits of Tibet House membership and about upcoming trips, geographic expeditions, please visit bobthurman.com. Tashi Delek.